Welcome to the third and final day of the Emerge 2022 conference. We start today's program with the lecture entitled The End of Privacy by Michal Kosinski. Michal Kosinski is an associate professor in organizational behavior at Stanford University Graduate School of Business. He studies humans in a digital environment using cutting-edge computational methods, AI, and big data. Michal has published over 80 peer-reviewed papers in leading journals. His research inspired a cover of The Economist, a 2014 theater play, Privacy, multiple TED Talks, a video game, and was discussed in thousands of books, press articles, podcasts, and documentaries. Michal, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much for a generous introduction. Can you folks hear me? I need thumbs up. I need to know whether you folks can hear me or not.
Yes, we can hear you.
Amazing. Thank you. Great. I wish I was there and could feel your energy, but unfortunately, we'll have another Zoom keynote. I guess I do not really need to convince anyone in this room that we're leaving an enormous amount of digital footprints when using digital products and services. 450 million photos were uploaded each day just to Facebook and Instagram back in 2020. 500 million tweets. This number stays roughly the same until today. 65 billion WhatsApp messages. There's a number of messages that the population of Earth, which is between 7 and 8 billion, now, if I understand correctly, exchanges every single day. 5 billion searches, 320 billion emails. And this data, this behavioral data generated by people going about their lives in the digital space are worth a lot. Actually, that's not my idea, but the Economist's idea, where researchers in this discipline claim that, in fact, data might be the world's most valuable resource at the moment. And we see a number of big companies that were either directly set up around the idea of harvesting our data we are generating, or change their business models to adapt to this new reality where our data is the most valuable thing there is. And an example here provided by payment cards or credit cards. Originally, this was seen as a financial service. Companies operating credit card systems were seeing themselves as financial companies. Today, when you talk to managers working in those companies, their leaders, when you look at their website, they will see themselves predominantly as companies producing, harvesting user consumer data and then monetizing this data by selling it further. And even those most traditional industries, such as automotive industry, are moving into the data-driven model. Tesla, to many of us, it looks like a car. To those who think about Tesla, who produce Teslas, who manage and plan its future, they see Tesla as mostly a data project. And this is because the market for vehicle gathered data is going to be huge. It's estimated that just 8 years from now, it's going to be $750 billion every single year. And this is just the behavioral data about where do you work? Where do you drive to do the shopping? What is the quality of the road that you're driving on? Now, the most valuable data that those self-driving cars produce is, in fact, the behavior of the driver as they're driving the car. Tesla's customers are helping Tesla to build AI that is going to help Tesla or maybe other companies, they can get their first design a self-driving car. But I'm a psychologist, and I'm mostly focusing on psychological and demographic traits that we can extract from such data. And let me tell you about one of my early studies where we looked at about 60,000 Facebook users and tried to see whether those very generic, on the surface, very superficial digital footprints, Facebook likes, how revealing are they about our intimate traits? And let me play you a short video that summarizes the results of this study.
Now, clicking like on Facebook is something most of us do without thinking.
The University of Cambridge over in London actually did a study
of what people like on Facebook to try to determine facts about them that they wouldn't otherwise know. So they didn't just look at the products, the movies, the bands that people like. They also looked at the status updates that people liked, the photos that people liked, and they were able to draw some really, really interesting conclusions about
all of your likes that you're clicking can tell more about you than you might have realized, from your political values to your religion to your gender to your happiness to your age.
In fact, some parts of your identity can be predicted with 95% accuracy.
Accuracy was lowest, about 60%, when it came to predicting whether a user's parents were still together when they were 21. People whose parents divorced before they were 21 tended to like statements about relationships. Drug users were ID'd with about 65% accuracy, smokers with 73%, and drinkers with 70%. Sexual orientation was also easier to distinguish among men, 88% right there. For women, it was about 75%. Gender, by the way, race, religion, and political views were predicted with high accuracy as well. For instance, white versus black, 95%.
The findings have alarmed privacy campaigners who fear this research could be used to commercially exploit users.
So keep in mind that just because you think you're not revealing a lot of personal details on Facebook, you're still spreading the word to the outside world as well as those online marketers.
Volunteers with few friends liked walking with your friend and randomly pushing them into someone or something. Hey, it's not their fault they don't have friends. Everyone they know keeps getting randomly pushed into traffic. High IQ corresponds to liking Mozart, science, and the Colbert Report.
Research indicated people who like Harley-Davidson motorbikes are generally of low IQ. We thought we'd better offer a right to reply.
I'd say our average customer is probably more intelligent than most, and we've certainly got a lot of customers who are, well, people from Cambridge University for a start.
A like on Facebook can reveal if you're a gay man. Yeah, especially if what you choose to like is penises. It's probably true. That's my wife walking in. I'm like, oh! It's a joke.
Okay. By the way, don't be an idiot and think that if somebody clicked on Wicked the Musical that they're gay automatically, or they clicked on Harley Davidson and they're stupid automatically. Ironically, that would make you stupid.
All right. So as you folks can see, those seemingly innocent types of digital footprints, our Facebook likes, are revealing an awful lot of intimate information about us, from political views through personality to intelligence to our sexual orientation. So of course, the question here is, how does it work? How do models like that work? And I have this equation here that we'll spend the rest of the talk analyzing. But before we get there, let's just look at one example. Imagine an anonymous Facebook user. You know nothing about them apart from the fact that they like Hello Kitty, the brand. Now, can you please guess what is the gender of this anonymous Facebook user? Now, if you're thinking that it's a young woman, you're very judgmental. It turns out that the biggest fan of Hello Kitty is this male retired Japanese policeman. But overall, you're right. As you can see here, this is data published by Facebook. 99% of people who like Hello Kitty are women. So if you know only one thing about a person, that they liked Hello Kitty, and you guessed they were women, you would be pretty accurate. Now, where do they work? Do they work in sales or in the military? Now, if you guess that they work in sales, pretty judgmental again, but also very accurate. And finally, do they use PCs or do they use an iPhone? Now, as you can see here, there's a huge overrepresentation among Hello Kitty liking users when it comes to whether we're using iPhones. Essentially, what I'm trying to show here is that even a single digital footprint can reveal a lot about an individual, and you do not really need to be a software, computer algorithm, or a psychologist to achieve that. Now, of course, in reality, this task is much more difficult, simply because only few likes attract such radically skewed audiences as Hello Kitty does. If I asked you, what is the gender and age of a person that liked Forrest Gump, the movie? You probably would have trouble guessing, simply because everyone likes Forrest Gump. It's just a very popular and a very good movie. But when you look more closely, even here you can see a bias. Now, 55% of all Facebook users are women, but only 48% of people who liked the Forrest Gump are women, meaning there is a male bias. So if you knew nothing else, apart from the fact that the person liked Forrest Gump, and you decided that the probability that they are male is higher, you would be right. And of course, in reality, algorithms can benefit from looking at tens or hundreds or thousands of digital footprints that each one of us leaves behind every single day. All right, so how accurate are such models? There were a few accuracies mentioned in the video, ranging from gender to whether someone's parents were still together. But let us focus on one of those, on predicting personality. What you can see here is a plot illustrating the accuracy when predicting big 5 personality traits, a very widely used personality model in psychology, given the number of likes that we are revealing to the model. As you can see, this accuracy is steadily increasing, reaching about 0.6, 0.7 for about 300 Facebook likes. Now, if anyone in the audience has ever had any experience with measuring personality, this is an awful lot. And let me show you an example here. One other way in which we can measure personality, apart from using questionnaires, is to ask people about what they think about their friends. It's called cross ratings. We can have your friends fill in a questionnaire in your name, and then see how accurately those predictions of your friends predict your own scores on the personality questionnaire. And now we can compare it with the accuracy of Facebook likes-based assessment. So please think about it for a second and guess, how many Facebook likes do we need to give to an algorithm in order for this algorithm to be able to predict your personality with the same accuracy as is achievable by your colleagues at work? Now, it turns out that you need only 10 likes for an algorithm to be able to predict your behavior and predict your responses to the personality questionnaire with the same accuracy as your work colleagues. Now, friends and family members know you better, of course. You need around 100, 150 likes to achieve their accuracy. But now the most accurate of human judges, our spouses. In order for an algorithm to know us as well when it comes to our personality as our spouse does, it needs to see around 200, 250 of our Facebook likes. Now, to anyone who has a spouse, this should be somewhat upsetting. Spouses know us really well. They observe us in good times, in bad times. They see us sad, they see us happy, they see us angry. We spend a lot of time talking with them. They know us pretty well. And yet, a simple linear regression, deriving information about us from those superficial digital footprints, Facebook likes, is able to predict our future behavior and predict our responses to a personality questionnaire with accuracy higher than our spouses. And the bottom line here is that the data that is visible on the surface, your Facebook likes, this picture that your cousin posted online and you liked it, or maybe this restaurant you went to and you liked it online, those superficial pieces of data, when you combine them with fairly simple machine learning models, they can reveal much more information. Essentially, the data visible on the surface is just the tip of an iceberg. And now the question is whether anyone is surprised by these findings. I still find some people in the audiences that are surprised by the accuracy of those algorithms, but we shouldn't be, because those algorithms, the same algorithms that can predict our behavior and our personality and other intimate traits with such high accuracy, have been used for quite some time to make other very complex and difficult predictions, such as, for example, when you look at stock markets or other parts of the economy, it turns out that increasingly machines, algorithms, are used to predict future changes in prices, are used to predict the premiums that we should pay on our insurance policies, and so on. And even in my own field, in the field of psychology, where one would hope that those predictions would be harder to make than on the insurance market or when it comes to stocks. Even here, it has been concluded that mechanical predictions will always outperform the clinical diagnosis conducted by a human. And this conclusion is not new. We're talking about this quote comes from a book based on years of research that has been published in 1954. So for the longest time, we've known that humans cannot diagnose psychological disorders, in this case, as well as even simple equations. In 1954, those models were really simple, and yet they were able to outperform human judges. All right, so what kind of data can be used by those models? So far, I talked about Facebook likes, but one can also use the history of geographical location, your history of media, content that you are consuming from videos through songs, anything you say around your smartphone or at home when Alexa and Siri are listening, anything you write in your emails or WhatsApp messages. There's a screenshot from one of my papers that shows words most predictive of high openness to experience or political liberalism and low openness to experience or political conservatism. And you can see that those clouds look fairly different, and those predictions are very, very accurate. And those predictions are not happening just in psychology labs. You can see here quite old screenshot now from IBM Watson that given a fragment of text that you can upload yourself, for yourself, but companies and governments can upload text as well to IBM Watson and ask IBM Watson to predict personality of their employees, their competition, their citizens of their own country or maybe another country. And in return, after uploading a short fragment of text, they will get fairly detailed and fairly accurate prediction of this person's psychological traits. Now, increasingly, computers are entering into another domain, into they can process more easily and more quickly images. And it turns out that those images are also a robust source of information about our intimate traits. And in particular, what's particularly interesting to me are facial images. Now, when I say, hey, you can tell something about a human by looking at their face, this sounds a bit outlandish to people. But take a look at this man. Does his face reveal anything about him? Well, you can surely tell that he loves spending time in the sun, playing golf perhaps. You can also judge his gender, age, ethnicity. You can tell his emotion, even when he's trying to hide it. Those judgments are so instant, instinctive, and accurate that we barely notice that we are making them. And in fact, computer algorithms can make those judgments as well. So now by simply spotting your face on a CCTV camera, an algorithm can tell your emotion, gender, age, ethnicity, whether you're tired or not, how healthy you are. But let us dive slightly deeper into this. Do you think that the face can also betray character? Do you think that simply by looking at Donald Trump's face, we can tell that he's an extremely stable genius? Now, it turns out that our ancestors believed that it was possible. Darwin's nose almost cost him the voyage on the Beagle. Robert Fitzroy, Beagle's captain, was convinced that Darwin's nose betrayed the lack of energy and determination and initially refused to take him on the journey. And Fitzroy was in a quite distinguished company. Aristotle was a big proponent of predicting one's character from their face. Pythagoras used to select his students based on their facial appearance. Now today, such ideas are dismissed as silly. That someone looks as cute as a hog does not automatically mean that they are as intelligent as the hog. Yet, it did come as a great surprise to me. Modern day research consistently shows that people, each one of us, can with some minimal accuracy judge other character from people's face. Political views, for example. Now, which of these men voted for Donald Trump? Now, this is a trick question because both of them most likely did, but in real psychological studies, you would match a face of a person that voted for a given political candidate with a face of a person that almost certainly did not vote for the political candidate. And then you have people guess which one is which one. And you can see in those studies that humans are not very accurate. They're just slightly better than chance. But they're consistently better than chance, study after study. And similar results were obtained for a broad range of other character traits, such as personality, intelligence, honesty, religiosity, and even sexual orientation. So what is it? Why is this accuracy better than random? Maybe faces reveal character, but only slightly little bit. Or it could be, there's an alternative explanation. It could be that our faces reveal our character with the same power, with the same strength as they reveal our age, gender, emotion. But humans simply can't see the signal very well. And let me show you a little experiment here that hopefully will help you to answer this question. So you can see here is a picture of two psychologists. They're the same age, same gender, same nationality. When we ask people to judge which one of them is more extroverted or more liberal, people get it right about 55% of the time. So the accuracy is very low. But look what happens when we average faces of 10 introverts and 10 extroverts. Extroversion is one of the personality traits. Look, if I ask you which of those groups were more social and more outgoing, in other words, more extroverted, you would have no problem guessing which one that is. You can see that ladies on the right have used more makeup, have a different hair color, smile more on those pictures. And it turns out essentially that how we choose to present ourselves on the picture, what emotions we're expressing, what we are doing to our faces, the style, wearing the glasses or not wearing them, makeup or no makeup, dyed hair or no dyed hair, smiling or not smiling. It turns out even how we hold our camera. Look at the picture on the left. You can see the nostrils on the face of introverts. But on the side of extroverts, you cannot see the nostrils. And this is because when they take a selfie, they hold the camera above their faces and point the camera down. This makes them look better on a picture, but also hides the nostrils. And it turns out that those little giveaways of personality can be very accurately assessed by computer algorithms. So we checked it in a study where we took 1 million facial images from 3 countries. In this case, we measured people's political orientation. We extracted faces from those images, ran them through a standard facial recognition algorithm, and then tried to see how well those faces, how much those faces differ between political liberals and political conservatives. And it turns out that if you give a computer a task, like the one we gave to humans before, the accuracy of a computer is much higher, 70%. And we're talking about, and we are not talking about, a custom-made algorithm trained to predict political orientation. We talk about an off-the-shelf facial recognition algorithm. Facial recognition algorithm is built in your phone, smartphone, that unlocks the screen when you're looking at your phone. This algorithm has not been trained to predict political orientation, and yet it can distinguish between liberals and conservatives with 70% accuracy. And this brings me to the title of my talk, The End of Privacy. Now, as we are leaving an increasing amount of digital footprints behind when we're using digital products and services, and as the algorithms are getting better at turning those digital footprints into accurate predictions of our behavior, we are essentially entering a post-privacy age, where a motivated third party, be it a country, a startup, or your neighbor, will be able to use algorithms to look at your footprints, digital footprints, and extract intimate information about you. Now, when I say that, people often say, hey, wait a moment, what about GDPR? What about all of the wonderful regulation? What about the governments that are going to protect our data and protect our privacy? Well, governments cannot protect their own data. So what makes you believe that you will have enough education, time, and technological knowledge and assets to protect your data from being stolen, sold, repackaged, and then used to reveal your intimate traits? Not to mention that there's so many powerful and life-changing and society-changing technologies that require us to share our data with others. Take Google Maps. Google Maps would not be able to operate properly if it didn't know where you're located, but also if you didn't share your own information to help Google Maps figure out how to get from point A to B, and also figure out where's the traffic, how people are traveling around. Now, if you are able to use Google Maps without sharing your own location, you'll be literally free riding on the backs of other people who gave up their privacy to make this system work, to enable it to work. But now one can say, well, whatever, let's just give up software like Google Maps in order to protect the privacy. Even then, though, I'm pretty skeptical about whether we'll be able to do it. We are a pretty narcissistic species, and even if we don't have to, we just like sharing this data publicly with others in the public space, and hence produce enough publicly available digital footprints to enable third parties to make those accurate predictions of our intimate traits. And you can ask, you know, so what? Who cares? Who cares whether others know my personality or political views? And the answer is that if you're not in the coma in last 5 or 6 or 10 years, you should be able to come up with many examples of situations where people losing privacy and companies using algorithms to reveal people's intimate traits was used against social and individual good. One example is Cambridge Analytica, that's illegally obtained data of 200 plus million voters in the US, used it to estimate their personality profiles, and then targeted them with personality adjusted, crafted ads. And you surely read about Ted Cruz and then Donald Trump using the services of Cambridge Analytica. The scandal was so huge that even Mark Zuckerberg donned the suit and flew to the East Coast to testify in front of the Senate and explain what the hell is going on. And Mark Zuckerberg was extremely surprised that you could predict someone's personality based on their Facebook digital footprints. And it's funny because Facebook business model is based on predicting people's intimate traits based on their digital footprints and then targeting them with content and advertising, not to mention that the very technology employed by Cambridge Analytica has been originally developed and patented by Facebook back in 2012, way before Cambridge Analytica started using it. But it's not only creepy political marketing that is a problem here. Take a look at those faces, those average faces. Each one of them is created of 100 faces of men, and those men differ on one very important psychodemographic trait. Namely, they differ on their sexual orientation. You can see that those average faces are quite different, and algorithms can see it as well. If you show humans a picture of a gay or a straight person, human accuracy is around 55, 56%, very low. Now, standard off-the-shelf facial recognition algorithm at the same task achieves over 90% accuracy, judging your sexuality from your profile picture. Now, this may sound like a trivial fact, but when you match it with this map showing you where the society or your government is going to harm you or arrest you or kill you if they find out what is your sexual orientation, I think it makes it clear that maintaining our privacy is for many people literally a matter of life and death. And again, those are not just scientific results estimated somewhere in psychological labs. Look at this patent back from 2012 for precisely this technology, for using facial recognition technology to predict people's intimate traits from the faces. And also, let's not forget that predicting stuff from faces is a niche type of application. It's so easy to predict people's political views, sexual orientation, personality from all sorts of other digital footprints, from your Facebook likes, from your status updates, from the history of the music that you have listened to. This data is not only more widely available, but also more easy to process and produces more accurate production. So those face-based predictions are just cherry on cake for those who want to invade your privacy. So let me close with this slide. Now, of course, this problem is recognized, and people and policymakers are slowly working on trying to address it, to solve it. We have better privacy protecting technologies. There are better privacy protecting laws and policies. But what I'm afraid is happening, that we are getting distracted from this reality, where even the best law and even the best technology will not guarantee us privacy. Now, we can all agree that tornadoes are bad and should be made illegal. And we can all meet together and just outlaw tornadoes and make them illegal. But will it stop them from coming? Well, I don't think so. So I think that in order to move forward, we need to accept that, unfortunately, the price that we pay for the progress, for those wonderful algorithms that are making our lives better in so many different ways. One of the price for it is that we're increasingly living in a post-privacy world, where a motivated third party can easily obtain your digital footprints and make very accurate predictions about who you are, what you want, what is your future behavior going to be. And the sooner we accept this fact, the sooner we can move on to have a discussion about how to make sure that this post-privacy world is still a habitable and safe space to live. And I will stop here and open the floor for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michal, for this very insightful lecture. And now I would like to give an opportunity to our audiences here to join the discussion and ask you some questions.
Hello. Thank you very much for this really deep and very, well, I would say a little bit threatening talk, because the privacy is really something important for us. But we understand that the privacy is nearly over. Now, do you expect that, well, these predictive analytics can be somehow extended to the prescriptive analytics, so we can at least enjoy this or that idea of better action, better life, better behavior? So we'll be there one day when the companies will give us the opportunity not to just sell our data, but also benefit from the data and make our life really something more controllable, enjoyable, so we can just have these services that prescribe not something for the company, beneficial to the companies, but also beneficial to us in many ways.
Thank you so much. This is a wonderful question. And I think that without a question, this is already happening. We are surrounded by algorithms that are predicting our traits, wants, preferences, behaviors, and then are delivering stuff and information and contents that we need. And some of it is advertising. And this clearly mostly serves the interests of advertisers. But even here, many people would argue that they just like being matched with products that they want and enjoy. But in many other cases, those algorithms are used to display search results that keep you most informed and make your information-seeking activities very easy. They can recommend jobs and careers. They can be used to diagnose disease or recommend best treatment to address the physiological or psychological problem that you may have. They are used now increasingly in e-learning to optimize the experience of students and keep them as engaged as possible. Now, and it's not just serious stuff. There's also light-hearted things such as entertainment. Like you go to Netflix, and Netflix, of course, they try to sell you stuff that that they recently produced, but they also try to optimize the offerings to keep you engaged for the longest possible time, but engaged with nice, interesting movies or books or songs also probably means happy and spending meaningful and nice time. Increasingly, it's used even in dating. It turns out that algorithms can predict the success of a relationship better than humans can. So while those solutions are mostly in the lab at the moment, but hopefully sooner or later, maybe even people's romantic choices will be supported by algorithms. And I'm saying it without fear because this may mean happier and longer and more fruitful marriages and relationships. And it's good for all of us. Now, we also see those algorithms being used in very serious contexts, like, for example, in a justice system, when those algorithms are used to predict, for example, whether the given person is likely to reoffend or whether they're likely to repair their ways and become a better citizen. And you hear a lot about how those algorithms are biased and imperfect and inaccurate. And you know what? Of course they are, because no predictive algorithm can be perfectly unbiased and perfectly accurate. What we have to ask is, what we have to compare those algorithms with is not with perfection that is not achievable, but with the best available alternative. And you know what's the best available alternative to the racist and sexist and ageist algorithm? Well, our currently employed best available alternative is much more racist and much more sexist and much more inaccurate human judge. And there are studies showing that as the adoption of those algorithms increases, of course, the bias and prejudice and inaccuracy doesn't entirely go away, but we see fewer people in prisons and more safe streets. So the bottom line is those algorithms are too good for us individually and for the humanity to go away. Meaning that while I'm spending most of my time focusing on the risks that those algorithms bring to our lives, the reality is that 99.9 probably of outcomes are very positive. And this is why they are not going away, and this is why we have to get used to living in a post-privacy society.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture, and I think I will ask the most difficult question in terms like where do we go from here? Then you concluded we need to have a discussion, but if you're saying, and as I think you stated, that our data cannot be protected, not by regulation, not by anything. So what is the next step in the domain of an idea or something like? And the second question is, if algorithms are going to replace our everyday life in total, like predicting our relationships, predicting everything, so what will happen to the human cognitive capabilities in the future then, if we will consult algorithms for every aspect of our lives?
Thank you, sir. This is a wonderful question. Well, I think that we have been increasingly surrounded by algorithms since the beginning of the modern humankind. At the beginning, those algorithms took a form of culture and social norms. Then we had laws, religious laws at the beginning. 10 Commandments is an algorithm. So shall not steal. And if you steal, this is what will happen to you. Don't go to, you're a bad person. And law, civic law, is also an algorithm. If you commit a particular crime, then this is what will happen to you. If you want to run for the president, this is what you need to do, and this is how you get there. Those are algorithms. And we have been increasingly surrounded and benefiting from those algorithms. And I think that humanity is not getting stupider. If anything, it's getting smarter with each generation. And we are generating great progress to a large extent thanks to those algorithms. And folks, notice one other thing. This is one other reason why algorithms are not going away. Every self-respecting modern society would say the following thing, would insist that no human should be above the law. In our modern political systems, we demand that even the most powerful president or a general still obeys the law. Now, let's look at it. Law is an algorithm. We all designed it together, we all modify it, but it's an algorithm. We already live in societies run by the algorithms. And increasingly, those algorithms are digital, machine learning based, AI based. And so, if you're flying on a plane or using Google Maps when you're driving a car, or going to Google to search for something, you essentially being ruled by, being governed by the algorithms. So that's the second question. I think essentially the humanity in our lives and our brains are just going to get better, I think. I'm an optimist. But the first question is, okay, so what do we do with those tremendously useful algorithms and with this reality when our privacy cannot be guaranteed? Well, first of all, let's not stop trying to make this world more privacy friendly and law more privacy protecting. It's great. We cannot completely avoid fires, but we can build buildings to code and install fire sprinklers and have, fire extinguishers and so on. But let's also have firemen being ready to come when the fire happens. And in the context of privacy, I want to point out one thing, which is that very often when we demand privacy not because privacy is because of the intrinsic value of the privacy. We demand privacy to fix other problems that we have in society. Homophobia, political intolerance, religious intolerance. We demand that people should have privacy of their sexual orientation because we worry that if they don't, then those homophobes will go and hurt them. We demand that people have privacy of religious orientation, of religious views, to prevent religious conflicts in the society and all of the crimes and hate crimes and so on. But please note that here, the privacy itself is not the value. The value is, the problem is, the lack of privacy is not a problem. The problem is the lack of tolerance, the lack of equality, the lack of protection for minorities. So I think that going forward, we should realize that we can no longer tell gays in Saudi Arabia, hey guys, it's fine. Just don't tell anyone you are gay, and we will keep shaking hands and buying oil and selling arms to this awful regime that is out there to murder you. We can no longer say just stay quiet, because we know that this is no longer their choice. And the sooner we realize this, the sooner we can get down to work to make this society, our societies around the world, safer and more equal spaces.
Thank you so much, Michael, for an inspiring discussion. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time left for further questions, but Michael will be joining us in the next panel session in about an hour, so you can keep the questions for after the panel. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.